Welcome back to Buckets, WNBA edition. I'm your host, Jim Turvey. I am here joined once again. It is a Tuesday, so you know what that means. We got Dano Mataya in the house. Dano, how's it going, my man?
Good. Very happy. Great weekend of WNBA. Did not like how our picks did last time outside of Survivor. I feel like there's been some wonky variants. It reminds me of very mid-season. So I feel like I pivoted a lot this weekend, had some good success, but excited for some winners today and to talk more W.
Yeah, I actually took a day or two off because I started like red hot and then had I think it was like a 3-day stretch that was like as funky and bad a 3-day stretch as I've had. And I was like, let me take a minute, pause, breather. We've got a nice big 5-game slate now on Tuesday, so we're gonna hit the ground running there. And as you know, if you're listening to this podcast, WNBA season obviously underway. We've had hot streaks and cold streaks already. We're that far into the season. If you're an Action Pro subscriber, our brand new WNBA projections are now available in the Action Network app. I've been playing a hand in those projections, so you want to check those out. So if you're looking for an edge betting the sides or totals, which is Kerner's baby, he's going to be on this week as well to talk through some of that process, or the player props in general. Our Action Pro subscription is the perfect tool for your toolbox this season. If you aren't a subscriber yet to Action Pro, you can get $20 off an annual subscription right now. Just visit actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up. $20 off an annual subscription price at actionnetwork.com/pro. Dano, before we get to the game slate, I want to quickly shout out, if any of you don't follow Dano on social media, you have to go check out the tiers. The tiers are back. That's how we know that we're truly in the WNBA season. What was your favorite? I always find like 50 nuggets I love in there. What was your favorite like little inside joke you slid into your week one tiers for WNBA?
I hope people don't get too offended, and I do give it at least a bit of care when placing players, but I'm looking forward to most just making fun of current events. And shout out to my mom, who is of Mexican descent, but making fun of the Mexican Navy ship that crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge was
the best.
And then I feel like for some reason it just fits in the Enrique tier. I never really outwardly say what that tier means, but people can kind of infer if they look at other players in that tier. That, and then I got a text today from somebody who works in the front office, actually, and they said the best thing for Tyler Marsh is that even though maybe last week was bad, it peaked at the worst with being put next to Diddy on your tiers. So it can only go up from here. And I was like, wow.
It can only go up from there.
Yeah.
And that's Dr. Mataya if you don't somehow follow and you haven't seen those tiers. They are excellent. Along with your cover every year for the NCAA women's tournament, the would-be SI cover. Those are my two favorite recurring Dano bits online. So let's look at what is going to be a sweet Tuesday slate. We got 5 games because we don't have any games on Monday. So they're loaded up Tuesday. We've got the Valkyries at the Liberty. Liberty are laying 16 points. That's right. You heard that right. 16 points to the Liberty. Totals 165. We've got the Wings favored in Connecticut by 4.5. The total there is 160.5. We've got the Storm at the Lynx. The Lynx are favored by 6. Totals 157.5. We've got the Sky at the Mercury. Mercury laying 7. Totals 155.5. And then we have the Dream minus 2.5. Oh, you know what? That line moved. This is stale because we got the news Rakia Jackson is back. So my apologies there. We've got the Sparks favored by 1 at home. That line moved a lot off the Rakia news. So Sparks are now favored minus 1, total 165. Dano, with those games in mind, why don't you read off just briefly the bet, and then we'll come back to you for the logic on these. But what are your best bets for Tuesday?
Yeah, my first best bet, I can't say without laughing, but New York Liberty minus 16 at home against the Golden State Valkyries.
Big number.
We'll talk about it. Then the next one would be another home favorite, Phoenix Mercury minus 7 at home against Chicago Sky.
Love it. My best bets, I am also on that Mercury side. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but we'll talk through that a bunch, I'm sure. So we've got Phoenix minus 7, and I've got 2 player props. I've got Veronica Burton under 12.5 points. I've got Alicia Gray under 4.5 assists. Let's start with our shared child here, the Mercury minus 7 against the Sky. I'll defer to you to lead off, and then I'll build off of that, and we can talk through why we're both on this side of things. But what do you like about the Mercury on Tuesday?
I mean, for one, it's what I dislike about the Sky. You're printing money if you're fading this team until they can keep it within 10 points of somebody, especially a winning record. I will definitely be fading them. I mean, I think the Sparks maybe let them hang around for a little bit, and then Kelsey Plum kind of went nuclear, but they really never seemed like they were in trouble in that game. The line movement on that game kind of shocked me a little bit too. I think it got up to 6 and came all the way down to 4 right before the game started. So I think the team is struggling with an identity. There's so much pressure. You can tell in the press conferences. It's just there's a lot of negativity. So I don't think we've seen rock bottom yet. For that reason, and plus the Mercury shot horribly. Somehow, thank God they pulled off a cover against the Mystics.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're getting another terrible Satu game like she had. And their role players are all just shooters, and we've seen what teams have done that can shoot the 3 against the Sky. I think it's a great matchup. Nobody can stop Alyssa Thomas. It's prime. I'm dead now. I might even put in an alt. Who knows?
Yeah, that game, honestly, the entire time that line was moving, it smelled like a rat line. I was texting a friend who really kind of tracks the market pretty intensely. Like, it almost seemed like one of these things that the WNBA has this new little trend I'm not loving where, players get ruled out like 30 seconds before tip. We saw it with Brittany Griner over the weekend for the Atlanta Dream. That was a line that moved really quick, right before tip. I was like, I kind of feel like Kelsey Plum's going to get ruled out or something. The -4 made no sense. It was implying that, the Sparks were like 1.5 better than the Sky, when I think they're clearly, like 5 or 6 points better. So, and again, this line to me, it's Phoenix at home. I think the market's a little skeptical of Phoenix. You talked about that cover they had of the Mystics. I think this Phoenix team's pretty good. Like we'll talk about them later for some award stuff. They have some awards candidates for sure. And these role players are playing really well. I think it's a great matchup for them. They force a ton of turnovers. They have great front court defense. Listen, you're looking at number 1 Angel Reese defender in the world. It has been a really rough start for her. This is going to be another really bad matchup for her. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers for the Sky. I think the Mercury are going to be outrunning. I would look at first half. I would look at wire to wire. I know Owen loves those wire to wire bets because if you don't want the backdoor cover. But honestly, are we really worried about this team doing a backdoor cover? Like, they do not have the offensive firepower to do it. I don't really know what's going on with Ariel Atkins. It's like they traded a lot for her, and she's getting like 3 shots a game. It doesn't seem like the best start. You mentioned Tyler Marsh and nowhere to go but up from here. It's a little troubling if you're Chicago. I wonder if you think, man, maybe we got the wrong Aces assistant. It looks like Natalie Nakase is doing great out there in Golden State, and Chicago things are looking really rough. So there's not a ton of player props to attack here. Unfortunately, I was looking, Alyssa Thomas lean over, Satu lean over, because this guy's defense has been bad. There's a player I want to get some props on. If we get Westbeld props, the centers I think are not going to be able to keep up with her on the perimeter. I would look towards her threes. If you're playing DFS, I think she could be a really good look because I think she'll get some blocks. Whenever you're going against Chicago front court, you get some blocks. So I'm all over Phoenix here. I want to bet them a couple different ways, and I'm right there with you on the spread as a whole. Let's move to your next bet. Let's talk about the Liberty laying 16 points, and you were fine laying the 16 points with the Liberty. So talk to me about why you're fine with a spread, even that big a one, for Tuesday's game.
Yeah, and I think it's, partially in the fact that I've been in New York and around the team for, close to, this would have been 5 years. And every time they have one of these scheduled spots where they're playing the team back to back, coming in, they're much stronger on the first night, much stronger. Come out, smack them up real good, and the next night you're like, why are they down at half? So that's part of it. The second part is this is a brand new team. They haven't left the state of California yet, going all the way to the East Coast to play the defending champs, who probably have the best pure crowd and environment in the WNBA. So, yeah, I mean, I'll play it the way I play everything, and I live bet a ton during these games. So I play back a bit as when I see a good number I can get to try to middle a lot. but because like 16 is a big number, but also the Liberty bench is not it's not scrubs. I mean, Isabel Harrison is like our ninth woman. That's pretty damn good. So I mean, granted, could the Valks just hit a ton of threes because they shoot a ton? Sure. I think Kayla Thornton is like 3 for 20 or something like that, like something ridiculous.
I talk about her later as well.
I just and coming off a big couple wins, I think it's prime for the Libs to smack them up a little bit, and then on Thursday I'll play the Valks spread at a better number. That's the plan.
That has I had forgotten about that trend, but you're so right. They do constantly do that where they smoke the team on the first half, and then you're just like, you just beat the team by 100. Why are you now losing by 6 at the half? I will say, looking ahead towards that game, the Valks have actually been pretty decent in the first half this season. So I definitely think of like a Valks first half. The Andrew O'Connor watch special maybe is the Valks first half money line, Liberty full game money line. That might be a really nice number on Thursday, especially if the Liberty take care of business like you foresee here on Tuesday. I'll talk about a player prop from that game, actually, Veronica Burton. Now, this prop isn't widely available yet. I'm hoping by the time everyone hears this, it will be widely available. But this number is a little bit of recency bias here. Veronica Burton does have, the potential for more usage in Golden State than she's had the rest of her career. So this is a number that she's cleared literally twice in 110 career games. And part of that is, she is in a new environment where she's going to get more usage. She's also a defense first player who, had one crazy game in that home opening win that was 20 awesome, points. Really fun. Career high by far a career high. Next game, she did come out and put 12, but Tiffany Hayes is questionable to return. If she returns, this number will probably drop a little bit, but I'll really, really like it because that's a lot of usage going over to Tip. So this is also a defensive first Liberty team right now that really has one of the best defenses in the league from the starters and from the bench. You mentioned that bench unit. I'm with you 100%. That to me, that's the biggest thing changed from a Liberty this year is where you can trust beyond. Like they had like 5 players I trusted until Niara Sabally emerged in the game 5 of the finals. Now they have Kenny Burke is coming into her own. You shout out Isabel Harrison. Fibich is going to be playing. She'll probably be starting, but she'll be playing. This is a really good Liberty team. I think it's part of why you're fine with playing the 16. There's a lot of blowout potential here. I'm with you leaning that direction and as a whole. So if it's a blowout, that's good for the unders for the starters, especially on the Valk side. So I think the 12.5 is just way too high and kind of a recency number. And
you have to think that Natasha Cloud probably draws that matchup too. So that's a fantastic play.
Cloud has been excellent on the defensive end this season, and just really always brings energy. And that crowd, we talked about it early on. Is she already the Liberty favorite player? She's going to have energy from that crowd all year. So the other one is a little bit more, a little sneakier. It's Alicia Gray under 4.5 assists. She's actually been really good at playmaking this season. She's been doing some of her best playmaking in general. But here's the thing. Brittany Griner got ruled out again. So we had the surprise Brittany Griner out over the weekend. I kind of thought it was just because it was a back-to-back. They were giving her some rest. Now she's out for a second straight game. Gray's numbers this season with Brittany Griner off the court, those assists have really fallen off. We saw it last game. She only had 2 assists in that game. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. It's not quite as tough a matchup as over the weekend defensively, but I just don't think she's going to be creating as much. She's getting a lot of those assists directly to Griner. So even though this is, she has kind of taken a little bit of a leap forward in terms of that playmaker role without BG out there. I like the under on an assist number that's high when in comparison to her career rate. So shout out the GOAT PBP stats as always for that on-off stuff. And that helps me find these plays sometimes. So I'm going to go Alicia Gray under 4.5 assists. Let's move on to, and we're tweaking this a little bit. We created the game last week, the Survivor game. We're both big Survivor fans. We have to have a little Survivor challenge here on the podcast. We're doing minus 1,000 or less. Both of ours hit. One got a little sweaty, but they both hit. But you texted me, hey, let's make this a little more intriguing. Let's make it so that every week it gets a little harder. So we said minus 1,000 or shorter, harder to hit than minus 1,000. for the opener. Now we're doing minus 900, and each week we'll shave off 100, and we'll see who can last the longest here. Ironically, you and I almost overlapped on this. You didn't see I had dibs this in the rundown here, but so I think mine's looking pretty good. If we both landed there, you zagged kindly. You said the host can keep the pick you had. What did you end up going with for your survivor pick for this week?
I'll let everybody kind of wait for the pick that we both wanted. Mine's not as great odds. But Paige Beckers to score 10 points at minus 550. To me, I mean, I feel like if I was given a best bets play, I would play Paige Beckers overs in this game specifically. Her return to Connecticut. She's played in this gym arena so many times. They have non-conference games there. They have the Big East tournaments there her whole career. She should be more than comfortable, and the crowd should be like probably cheering more for Paige than they are for the Sun.
I would say so.
They say they sold out season tickets, sure. So yeah, I think Paige getting 10 points is going to be a breeze.
I actually do like that one, even though you had to zag to do it. I actually quite like that one. I really love the angle of what's going to be a home game for Paige. She's going to feel very comfortable, and I would even sprinkle an alt there the other direction, 20 plus or something.
Yeah.
The one that I went with and that you almost went with is from that same game. It's funny because I was looking at the schedule in general. I don't like to do like a really juicy like minus number on a game that could be a blowout. There's just a lot of ways to miss a heavy alt that way. So I avoided Liberty and Valks. There's a couple games like Seattle and Minnesota. I lean towards the under. Those two such good defenses. I could really see a player getting taken out and having a low scoring game. I didn't want anything there. This Connecticut Dallas game was like, oh baby, here we go. Now I will say, in all fairness, this total was low, and so I looked at it a little bit and I was like, is there going to be room for an over here? These two teams are actually pretty skewing to the under, in part because Connecticut's offense is so bad. That being said, I'm going to take a Connecticut Sun player, Marina Mabry, to score 10 plus at minus 730. So she actually went under this once this year, but that was in a game where she played less than 20 minutes because it was a blowout. So I don't think that we're getting a blowout here against Dallas. These are two pretty evenly bad teams. The spread is 4.5. I think that's a little bit lopsided. I don't think Dallas is good enough to be laying 4.5 on the road against many teams, even if the Sun are maybe the worst team in the league right now. But Mabry is, she hasn't scaled up the efficiency very well. We're seeing really bad field goal percentages from her, but we are seeing a lot of shots. She's taking 19, 20. She's taking a ton of threes, and this Dallas defense is the exact right defense to get right against. So, if you want to look at this the other way and play some alts, into the 20s as well for Mabry, I don't mind that. I like her in general in this game. I think it could really be a get right spot. But with the usage she has in what should be a close game, I think her floor is really appealing in addition to the ceiling, which is always interesting with her because she takes so many threes. And against a Dallas team that is really, really bad defensively again. I'm going to run that. Was there any other parts of that you were originally on it as well?
Yeah, I mean, the volume is one thing, and the fact that like who else is going to score for that team?
Yeah.
I mean, Bria Hartley gives you something. You get some nice stuff out of Sanaya Rivers. I don't know if Lindsay Allen is back, but I just feel like she's too big of a competitor to not go for 10 points, And honestly, I like Connecticut in this spot. Like I think the basketball gods are going to give us a winless Dallas versus a winless Chicago for sure. Who Dallas plays next, I believe. Could be wrong there. But still, yeah, I mean, one of these teams, I mean, they're both desperate for a win. I do like the home dog side, and I like Mabry to have a big night. And Tina Charles is due for a big night, too. I think 4 for 20 last game. Disgusting. God. Against her old team. Like, ooh. Connecticut is stressful to watch, to be anywhere near. So, I'm with it. Mabry, go crazy. Just the battle of the whites out there.
All right, and with that, let's get into some awards talk. I wanted to chat, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. There's a lot of awards out there. We're not that far into the season, but this is a really good time, in my opinion, to kind of look over these awards. really kind of, it's only, a week and a half or so, but this is the week and a half that kind of gives you the most information. Now, it can be noisy information. You got to kind of pick out what is real from what's not real. But I do think that this is a lot of information that's very useful in these awards markets. So let's walk through some of the ones that maybe are a little bit more boring to start. And they'll end with two in particular that I think are really interesting right now. So let's start with MVP. This one kind of had a big crazy flip during the day today that I'm pretty bummed about, because I was going to come on here. I was going to say Caitlin Clark is the favorite right now. Caitlin Clark should not be the favorite right now. And Defisa Collier should clearly be the favorite right now. And then we got the news that Caitlin was going to be out 2 weeks. This has flipped. Defisa Collier is now a big favorite, minus money. I think like minus 150 last I saw. At this point, you likely already have MVP stock. If you're listening to this was, pretty much the consensus of everyone who had to preview the season. Everyone gave out MVP. Do you see any way of playing this other than, you obviously have MVP stock. Is there anyone lower down that you're interested by? Do you think it's a buy low spot for Caitlin? I personally don't, but maybe you think it's a decent buy low. What are you looking at MVP and thinking betting wise? Is there anything grabbing your eye, or is this one we can be pretty brief?
I mean, if you want to have some Caitlin, I mean, I feel like, probably numbers should get better in the next 2 weeks, right?
Yes, 100%.
My thing is like, okay, 'cause I had a conversation with somebody who does a lot with WNBA betting, and bets a large amount of money, and it's like, why are we not, all the tea in China on fee to win MVP? And the only reason we're not is like injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if Lynx just stay the course, even if they finish second to the Liberty, I think the award is hers. And I think these things are basically decided like in the season. The only other thing I could possibly see, because to me, Asia's out. No chance. I think there's voter fatigue. I think the Aces are terrible. I'd love to say that out loud. I've been screaming it from the beginning of the year. The only other thing I could see is like Jonquel or Sabrina going on a run, but like libs are too balanced.
Yeah,
way too balanced. And someone else can score 30 any other night, and it just, to me, I just don't see the value there. I don't see Stewie getting it. It's a tough market. I don't know what you see.
No, I'm with you 100%. I don't love laying a minus 150 we're a week into a pretty long season. Yeah. And I think you make a good point though on the Caitlin thing. Don't do it this second. Do it 2 weeks from now when she's kind of out of sight, out of mind. It'll probably be a little bit longer. If you do want to get in on it, I personally thought she was overvalued in the market anyways. Yeah. So I'm not really trying to buy in on that, even at the dip. I'm pretty content with letting the fee stock be the main, it's in a great position right now. And then the only thing, we're going to see stuff coming. If it is Sabrina, we're going to see the 3 week stretch where she's scoring, 25 a game. We're like, all right, now's the time to add. We'll have time, but I really think that, outside of an injury, Fee is in really good shape for this award. Her numbers are a little inflated with getting to play Dallas twice already. But if she's even at 24-7 and they're a top 3 team, I think that there was kind of the narrative before the year is it's Fee's time. I don't see anything really slowing that down.
Yeah, the only other thing I can see is okay, Indiana goes 0-4 or 0-5 in the stretch, and then Caitlin comes back and they rattle off 10 wins straight, and they're like, look how big that was, But
that's actually I love that point. So not only we wait the 2 weeks to buy the dip a little bit, but if they start losing, it almost increases her value, because it's when she was out, they couldn't do anything. I think that's really sharp. I really like that look in terms of if you are trying to get on the Caitlin side of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been planning to bet Mystics even if Caitlin was playing on Wednesday. I'm going to bet Mystics every game.
The Mystics really good against the spread, I believe. Have they covered every game so far? Maybe not one. They're favorites.
But they're favorites at the Valks. That was the first game of the West Coast road trip, and then 17-point dogs almost went outright in Vegas, and then really probably should have won in Phoenix, but so I mean, I don't know, Sydney Johnson. We talk Coach of the Year. I gladly will speak on him.
Nice. Yeah, we absolutely should. Let's go to Coach of the Year next. Are you intrigued by a Coach of the Year Sydney Johnson bet there?
Yeah, I gave it out I tried to bet it at 60-1.
Yeah.
And then it got denied, and then moved it to 40-1. So I grabbed it there, and then it was at 25-1 after that. Now it's down to 8-1.
Yep.
So to me, it's another award that's pretty narrative media driven, but I feel like looking at the past results, like it's a lot closer than say your normal MVP outside of that, 1 year with Stewie winning it. It's going to be a lot closer. So I wouldn't mind getting some stock in as of right now. Semesco, I just feel like the dreamer.
Yep.
Anyone who outdoes expectations, I feel like media just grasp onto 100%. That and love that. So, I mean, the names that come to mind are Cindy Johnson for sure, Natalie Nakase, and Carl Semesco. Maybe even Nate Tibbetts, because losing Ka for the majority of the season, if they, come out with a winning record by the time she gets back, I think that's, pretty impressive. Feel bad for Sandy Brandello, but I feel like no one's really going to give her any credit.
I think they'd have to have a crazy good record. Now, let me pause on Tibbetts for a second, because I will tell you right now, Tibbetts is my best bet, and I have given him a lot of guff about the tweet that introduced him. I always refer to him by his his honorific there, but listen, he's doing a phenomenal job in Phoenix. They lost Ka, and they've created this defensive juggernaut. Now, part of this is who they have played so far. They've played a couple of pretty bad offenses, but I'm
Seattle though.
Well, at Seattle at times looks like
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it looks great against the Aces. They brought that offensive synergy every game.
They played Erica Wheeler.
Yeah, Wheeler is balling right now. You love to see that. So Nate Tibbetts is my best bet. You can get plus 1,000 Bet Rivers on him right now. I absolutely love that best bet for Coach of the Year right now. Steph White is the favorite right now, but Caitlin's going down here. They had, and the tricky thing from them is that they aren't going to exceed the expectations because the expectations were so high. I do think they'll get the big jump in wins, which people like. But, it's a really heavy favorite right now. I think there is value on Tibbetts right now. I'm with you on being intrigued by Johnson. My fear with Washington, and we'll get to this when we get to most improved player as well, I do think that it makes sense for them to kind of rest their best players, really focus on the youth, and be okay being the third or fourth worst team, losing a bunch of really close games. I could see them being, 15 and 29, being right around that 8 seed, but being you know what, we want a really good pick. We want this young core that looks awesome so far. The young core in Washington looks so fun. We want to really focus on them, get them all their reps, and be okay with some losses. So I think that's the fear for there. But it's a decent enough number that I'm intrigued by it for sure. He definitely has a path. And the more winning they do early, the less likely they are to kind of fold it in. They'll be in the race for that playoff spot, because the 8th seed right now does look a little bit wide open. So there's a path to the playoffs there for him. Semesco, obviously, I think he should be the second favorite. I really like what Atlanta's doing. You kind of see the vision sometimes when they're healthy, and they haven't even had Jordan Kanda yet. Jordan Kanda starting basketball activities, should be back before too long. As long as BG's injury doesn't keep her out for a while, I think this Atlanta team could be a top 4 seed. Now, they've tricked me before many, many times. I've gotten on the Atlanta Dream only for them to trick me. And Ryan Howard has not looked good so far this season.
Oh, yeah. I bet, but also it's they tricked us, but maybe that was just Tanisha Wright.
Well, that would be the jump with Mesco here.
But even without BG, I think it was a faster, more exciting version of Atlanta that I watched against Connecticut. Everyone contributing, super balanced. He's getting, they're deep. They're getting great minutes out of Maya Caldwell, out of Naz Hillman, out of Nia Coffey, who's been fantastic. So it's a fun situation. I think people just I don't know. I guess the voters might go against a straight white male, but I would
guess if you look at that is not historically true, but we'll see.
I mean, look back on it. I mean, Tanisha Wright won this award.
Well, Tanisha Wright had a great. She deserved it the year she won it.
What, eighth seed?
They clearly improved under her that season. She had a really good first year. Now she faded and showed she couldn't really adjust to a league offense that worked, but she was good that first year.
My thing is like, okay, you get a first round pick, and yeah, every voter's different. I've heard multiple things from multiple people, but yeah, the one thing I was going to say to wrap this up is like, it's funny that the Mystics are involved in like 4 different award categories, basically. Like,
yeah. No, they definitely are. They are kind of the story of the young season. In fact, maybe we transition right off of that. Rookie of the year. I know Sonia is your girl. Are you intrigued by a Sonia Citron Rookie of the Year bet?
Yeah, I gave it out right after Paige laid out a stunker in her game 1. A stunker. Yeah, Sonia has been, if anything, the most consistent one. But Kiki as well. I mean, those votes might cannibalize, which I've literally heard verbatim from a voter, because both of them are so good. But it could come down to like one of those. I guess Rookie of the Year is one name. I know MVP, it's ranked choice voting where you submit 1 through 5. Rookie of the Year has been just one name. I mean, I don't know if there's value left on Sonia. I mean, honestly, there's value left on her and Kiki. Like,
just
depending on where you look.
Combo.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I don't think Dallas is ripe for success, and like, say they do finish, last or second to last, and Paige just kind of is doing what she's doing right now.
The Paige
and Mystics.
No, go on.
And like, say this happened, like it just kind of stays where it's at. They're bottom or next to the bottom, and the Mystics finish 9th, don't make playoffs. But Kiki or Sonia is having one of those years. Who gets Rookie of the Year?
Well, I think Rookie of the Year, I don't think really comes down to winning all that, but I think it's really just stats. But I will say Paige's stats aren't like right now they are like around the best, but it's not like they're miles better than Sonia Citron or Kiki or Event. Now, my worry with I have 2 qualms with one each with each of the Washington players. For Citron, I don't think she's going to keep shooting at the percentages she has all season. If that drops off a little bit, then her numbers start to be, a tier below Paige, and then it's hard to make the case in a direct 1-to-1. And for Kiki, Aaliyah Edwards is coming back. They worked her in last game. That's going to be more front court stuff. Now, Kiki's been good enough. I don't think that's going to have a huge impact. But I'm actually going a different direction here. And I do think there's a bet even outside of Paige.
Wow.
You know where I'm going, right, Dano?
I have an idea, and if you say it, I will be...
I wanted this person before the season. This person wasn't even offered before the season. But the WNBA hipsters were all over this. Janelle Salon. Salon has come out of the gates. If you watch her play, she looks like she runs shit out in Golden State already. 2 games into her career, she's averaging 14 points a game. She's getting a lot of shots up. This is a team that, on the flip side, unlike Washington, where there's more players coming back, Golden State, if anything, there's only going to be more usage for her. I think that they realize that they got a real one here, and they're only going to lean into how good that Salon has been. She's been good on both ends. She's getting blocks and steals. I think that Salon, she's plus 1,400 still right now. Listen, is she the most likely player? No, she's probably the 4th most likely, but I think that 4th is spread out a little bit closer overall. And I had to get a bet on Salon somehow, because this was the person I wanted before the season at like 100-1, and I'm content at 14-1 to still get in on it.
That's an I know ball and I know more in the media bet.
Shout out Snap Wilson and the Lockdown crew. They were both all over Janelle Salon in the preseason.
Love them. I will say the voters are not going to give it to a non-American.
You think Janelle Salon is going to get over Paige Beckers?
She won't get a single vote. She won't get a single vote, maybe from the local Golden State media, but besides that, we'll not get a single vote for sure.
Me, I'm gonna hack it and fill the ballot with Janelle Salon votes.
Yeah, but this is not anything like, I love the play. I think she's been amazing. I had her. I almost put her in elite in my tiers. She's been great, but voters are very, very pro-American when it comes to these things.
That's totally fair. I wanted it at plus 100 before the season or something crazy.
That
They
would have
needed
been
a lister
unreal.
before the season.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, she didn't even start for France's national team. I'd seen her play, but I didn't expect what we're getting. So very impressed.
Yeah, I'm really curious to at least just keep an eye on it. If you play fantasy basketball or if you do DFS or anything like that, definitely get some Salon in there. Get some Salon content in your life, or just watch her play because that's a blast too. All right, we'll end with the two that I think are the two most interesting awards right now to talk about. So we'll go a little bit longer on these two. Most improved. This is an interesting one. There's not a prohibitive favorite right now. The favorite is Sykes, but she's plus 340. Then there's folks at like plus 800. This is pretty wide open. You talked about, I think it was before we were recording at this point, about how Sykes was your favorite here. I think that Sykes is the correct favorite right now. She has definitely taken a leap. I thought she had been an All-Star before. She has not been an All-Star before. I got some people messaging me today about Aaliyah Boston, and that seems to be getting steamed a little bit with the Caitlin Clark news. To me, Aaliyah Boston has been an All-Star previously. Her numbers have taken a jump. But I also don't think the numbers are going to go all that much higher with Caitlin out. If anything, I think she loses out on those really good, Caitlin creates a lot of really good buckets for Aaliyah Boston. I think those numbers stall out a little bit. She's shooting a little bit above, her career rates in general. I think those numbers, if she finishes the year with these exact numbers and there's no perfect candidate, even if she was a previous All-Star, maybe she gets it. I just think it's a tough path. I think you need to, kind of go between you're kind of weaving and dodging through a lot of things that could stall this out. So I'm not going to be on Boston. And I think that Sykes, at this number, I'm probably not going to be on it. There was value on it before, I think. But I also, I've said this many times, even in this podcast already, I think that if Washington hangs in that like 9 seed type area, I think that they shut Sykes down. We already see her miss one game. It's really hard for a guard of her kind of slight frame to carry the usage she's carrying. There's a crazy amount of usage. She got injured last year when she was really high usage. I think she'll miss, 10 or so games, and then, maybe even just the full final chunk of the season if Washington is content just letting the rookies run with it. So I'm intrigued by a couple of names further down the board. But before I get to those, are there names that you're looking at kind of the top of this board for MIP?
I could talk myself out of all of them at the top.
Right.
I mean, everything you're saying, like Azrae, she's been doing great, but Brink's going to be back, at some point. Cardoso, I don't know why she's so high up. I feel like we're getting the same. I wish that was an opportunity. Really,
Ryan Howard is third, and anecdotally, she hasn't made a shot in 4 months. She's taking 10 threes a game and hitting one. It's insane.
I give out a least improved award at the end of the season on my tiers, and right now Ryan Howard is up for that. People think that Ryan Howard's been so amazing.
It's true.
Don't get me wrong, Ryan Howard's been fantastic defensively, amazing, but offensively, it's okay, just taller Enrique.
It's too green a light. It's somehow too green a light from Smesco.
Yeah. No. So really, I'm more interested to see what you have to say regarding this award.
No, it's so funny because in my notes, I literally did what you just did. I went down through the top 5 and was just like, I don't think it works for this reason. I don't think it works for this reason. So I got down to a plus 2,500 and a plus 3,400. So the plus 2,500, I like Kayla Thornton. Has Kayla Thornton actually improved? No. But we see a lot of times players who don't improve, but they get a lot more shots and they win this award because their stats, double or whatever. That's exactly what's happening right now. She's a career 7-point, 4 rebound, 1 assist player. Right now she's averaging 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals a game, and she's doing it on bad shooting. So if anything, she's going to regress. And I don't think she's scalable. I don't think she's going to keep her efficiency from previous seasons. And the 3-point shooting is terrible. But at some point, she's either she can't shoot this terrible forever, or she's just going to stop and she'll go to the basket more with her usage, and she'll average, she goes 14-7. Now the team is terrible, and that, sometimes you want from a little bit of a better team. But I don't see a whole lot of really strong candidates out there. I want the plus 2,500 on a player whose stats are going to balloon from career rates, almost triple from last season. Even though I don't think she's actually improved all that much, that tricks voters sometimes, and they just see the stat jump and they're fine with that.
Can I guess your next one?
Yeah, 100%.
Jay Melbourne.
100%. You nailed it. And I think this is a really good handcuff to Brittany Sykes. If you have a little bit of Sykes, The fear is that they shut her down. If they shut her down, it is great news for Jade Melbourne, because she's not a direct backup, but she is kind of the guard that takes the minutes and the usage when Sykes is out. The one game Sykes was out, she had 14 points on 11 field goal attempts. Her 3-point shot is much improved this season. Just like looking at it, seems like a more confident stroke than the past. This is a player who I've really been intrigued by for a while. She was on Seattle and always was like, man, she like can kind of get to the basket. She kind of create. If she can shoot now, she's a decent defender. Another pesky, super young. Another pesky young player who's right on the timeline for this Mystics team. That Mystics 5 is so fun. Like her, Sonia Citrone, Kiki Irfen. If you run her at the 3 with Aaliyah Edwards and Shakira Austin, I mean, that's like that team in 3 or 4 years is like a potential core of like a title team. So I think if you're Washington, you really want to get Jade some minutes, see what you got here this season. More than Sykes, who is awesome, but honestly might be a decent trade piece at some point this season. If you're
I had that exact conversation. I'm like, dude, she needs to be on a contender, but then it's like, where does she fit? And you can go down a whole rabbit hole figuring that out.
With New York now having Cloud, there's not a perfect fit for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say with regards to Jake, great bet, Mike. Great bet.
Good bet, Mike. Yeah, absolutely. From down under, an Aussie fave at plus 3,400 right now. So I really like that one. I think this is an award we're going to circle back to throughout the year. It's just so wide open right now. If Sykes stays healthy and keeps up this usage, she's going to win it. She'll be an all-star. She's a lovable player who's been in the league for a long time. Would be great to give her an award. I think she's going to miss games. I think they're going to be content with her missing a little extra at the end of those games. And there's a chance of a trade. So I think that's like, if you're laying on a favorite, there's a lot of question marks there. And like you said, we walk down the rest and there's question marks there as well. Yep. All right, let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. I think this is the most interesting right now. So there are 2 big favorites. Nafisa Collier plus 230. It's Asia Wilson, I think either plus 230 or plus 250. Then there's a bunch of other names. I think there's questions about both of those. Last time you and I were on, I kind of shouted the Lynx defense as being a little bit of a regression candidate so far. They don't look like as good as they have in the past. Now, Fee could still win it even with you kind of run-of-the-mill defense. That totally is in the realm of possibility. Her defensive stats are still there. She's having like 2 steals and 2 blocks a game. She's awesome on that end. But if she's MVP, I think that cuts into it a little bit. It has happened before. Asia did it as recently as 2023. Sylvia Fowles did it in 2017. But I do think that oftentimes they want to split it. And obviously the natural one be, okay, then we'll give it to Asia. This Aces defense better not get a Defensive Player of the Year. This Aces defense is so bad. Anyone who watched the Seattle game, it was like a layup line. They were turning it over. They wouldn't run back on defense. Listen, they're fine where they are. They know that they can make the playoffs and then flip a switch. They are fine to cruise through this regular season. Now, is Becky fine with that? No. Becky looked like she was having an aneurysm on the sideline. But there is no way this Aces defense is going to be a top 5 unit, I don't even think at this point. And you really do need a top defense to win this award. So I think there, with questions on those 2 main folks, that there's potential for bets down the line. When you look at DPOI, what are you thinking about?
I mean, I think of lazy media, and I think of defensive win shares, and I think of blocks.
Yep.
And I don't mean to discredit the media. They ever listen to this, like, I respect a lot of you. But like Aaliyah Boston, this Fever defense is super improved. All her numbers have improved on both sides of the ball, but specifically defensively. Defensive win shares, what do you call it? Defensive win shares for 40 minutes.
Yep.
Blocks per game, steals per game. She has just been kind of everywhere. She's like, a couple things. One, she's in better shape. 2, I think she's, kind of like very sure of herself. I mean, like, she's going up against BG and not having a problem. Yeah. She is the anchor of, the defense behind, one of the most prolific offenses in the league. And when this defense is, working well, holding Chicago to under 70, I mean, that second game against the Dream was nuts. I know they gave up 90 the first game, but, and libs are the libs, but they're going to be some games.
They have the second best defensive rating right now. I have my preseason bet with Calvin that they wouldn't be in the top half. They're second right now. And that's against a schedule that has been a couple of Atlantas and in New York. Now, is Chicago inflating that because of their terrible offense a little bit? For sure. But listen, I was way out on this to start the season, I'm much more intrigued. I got a little bit of this today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think that the Boston thing is very interesting. Steph White impact is clearly very real, and they're playing at a fast pace, so they're giving up point totals, but the per 100 possessions are actually one of the best defenses. And I do think that the media, who you've now accused of identity politics and being lazy, that's a wild duo right there.
I'd say it to their face.
Yeah, I know
and I see them a lot.
I know you would. They will look at defensive rating, not points allowed. So they will go to the defensive rating where Indiana will fare better.
Yeah, they're not that lazy. Yeah.
They'll scroll down on the BREF page at least a little bit. There's a few other names I want to shout out here, though.
Okay.
For one, I'm amazed that this person does not have a Defensive Player of the Year award on their mantle. Brianna Stewart does not have a Defensive Player of the Year.
Ooh.
Isn't that kind of amazing?
Yeah.
This would be the perfect year for, if the Aces defense has slipped, if Fee is getting MVP, we need to get Stewie the award. She's clearly deserving it at some point in her career.
Are Livs the number one defense?
They aren't this second. They're actually, I think,
who's number one?
The number one defense. We're gonna hold that thought, because that's the next person I'm going to talk about in a second. But this is a player who is clearly one of the best defensive players in league history. On a Liberty defense, I think by the end of the year is going to be a top 3 defense. Even if they have a little bit of those finals legs, there's just so much talent on this team defensively that I think they absolutely will be in that. You can get her at plus 1,100 right now. Again, shop these. You might be able to find better, like Dano just did in the moment. I don't even hate a sprinkle on her teammate Natasha Cloud, who is actually, by defensive win shares, been the best player on the Liberty on that side of the ball. She's at 50-1. So those two Liberty players, Jonquel is in that mix as well. But I think Stewie, because of the, not even having one of these awards, and being kind of like a vet who, let's get something on her mantle. I really like that. She's playing very well. It looks like the knee surgery went well this offseason. She's looking really strong out there. But the number one defense so far, and now this could be skewed by who they've played. I'm going to actually, on Friday's episode, we're going to talk to Sean Kerner. He's going to have some really cool stuff about that kind of like strength of schedule and who's played who and how he's weighting that into his power spreads and totals and all that. But the number one defense so far is the Phoenix Mercury. And you know who is on the Phoenix Mercury, and who else does not have a DPOI yet? Alyssa Thomas. Thomas, who has the reputation of being maybe even as, if not better than Brianna Stewart. She's also at plus 1,100 out there right now. So in fact, plus 1,200 for AT at Bet Rivers. I really like Alyssa Thomas. I do think this defense is going to be able to hold up. And I think Tibbetts, who was an offensive-minded coach, you have to give him a ton of credit here. He's really done a great job with this defense. I think Alyssa Thomas, she doesn't rack up as many blocks, probably because her shoulders are non-existent, but she gets steals. She is kind of the core of turning over that defense there. Now, Satu has been awesome on that end as well, and Satu may get a vote or two, and maybe you worry about the split. I know that that's a worry in terms of MVP if you're thinking about those two players. I think Alyssa Thomas and Brianna Stewart, two players who need one of these on their mantle, but by the time they retire, two of the best defenders of their era. I think that's a pretty easy narrative to slip into, especially if Fee's winning MVP and Asia, that Aces defense just isn't it. I think those are two really strong names just in the tier right below. And I got one long shot for you, Dano. Seattle, who I think is actually, you know where I'm going? I think this is actually the best defense in the league. Is this where you were going to go too?
No, I mean, I was like, I don't see her getting the credit, but no, I love it. I do
think that's the case. So she's at 60-1. It's Neko Gumake. She's at 60-1 right now, and I do think there's a lot of other people you can give the credit to, but I think this Seattle team is actually the best defense in the league. I think Ezzy's having a little bit of an off year. Now, maybe you're like, this is the time to buy the dip on Ezzy, who's actually their best defender, but Ezzy is not nearly as long a number, that she has the defensive reputation. NECA, another player who has multiple top fives in the Defensive Player of the Year vote, but does not have a DPOI. This is the year of the vet who needs the award. I think all three of these players, Brianna Stewart, Alyssa Thomas, Neko Gumake, at 11, 12, and 60-1 respectively. I really like all those bets right now. And I'm also the Boston at 30-1. So I think there's really a lot of ways to attack this DPOI. Do you have any final thoughts on this award? Or are you joining on any of these?
Yeah, you laid that out perfectly. I think those are all great. Like, I wouldn't want to be missing out on any of them, and I could see a road to each one. And like, mind you, like those three teams specifically, Seattle, Phoenix, and New York, all have like some of the best team PR teams who are the ones who are sending out like basically marketing gifts, almost lobbying for votes. It's amazing. So
it's 100% a thing to consider. That definitely is. And Alyssa Thomas has never had that before. She hasn't had that wind at her back per se that she might have in Phoenix.
Yeah, classic Sun. I heard they gave out lunch boxes to their season ticket holders as a gift this year.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah. Let's end on that note, the lunchbox note. So with that note, if you want to tail some of these bets, we gave our best bets earlier in the episode, talked through a lot of awards bets. We posted these in the app as well. But if you're listening to this and you just got it up in the podcast app, David Payne, always shout out to him. He's going to be posting the quick slips in there in the description of the podcast. So we'll be able to get you those there. If you are listening to this in a podcast form, obviously, rating and review is much appreciated. If you're watching on YouTube, the like and subscribe is what we like. And thanks to Gifford Gould and the team over there on YouTube for that side of things. And with that being said, Dano, thanks for coming on.
Always.
Let's get buckets.